stop eating your last meal of the day and then doing absolutely nothing else before bed, because that habit, the one almost every doctor tells you is fine, might be quietly starving your brain of the one window it has each night to repair itself. Nobody tells you this in a routine checkup. Nobody puts it on a pamphlet in the waiting room. But there is a 2 hour stretch every single night when your brain either rebuilds itself or it doesn't. And what you put in your body before that window opens can tip the scale either way. Here's something that should stop you cold. Researchers studying older adults with self reported sleep problems found that a simple bedtime food changed their sleep onset time by over a third. People fell asleep 35% faster simply by eating 2 pieces of a common fruit an hour before bed, not a pill, not a prescription, a piece of fruit. That study out of Taipei Medical University also found reductions of nearly 29% in nighttime waking and more than 42% improvement in overall sleep quality scores. I'll tell you exactly what that fruit is in a moment because it's not what people expect and it lands at number 2 on today's list. But the food that takes the top spot today is even less expected. And by the time we get there, you'll understand why I put it above everything else on this list. Before we dive in, I want to know who's watching. Drop your age in the comments. I read every single one, and I mean that literally, not as some line I say for the algorithm. And tell me this, what's the one thing about your memory lately that's made you pause even for a second? A name, a word, walking into a room and forgetting why. I want to know because everything in this video is built around that exact feeling. Now, here's what almost nobody explains properly. Your brain does not do its most important repair work while you're awake. It does it while you're asleep in a stage called slow wave sleep, the deepest, most restorative phase of the night. During slow wave sleep, your brain literally flushes out metabolic waste, strengthens the connections between neurons that store new memories, and consolidates the day's experiences into long-term storage. Think of it like a library that only reshelves its books after closing time. If the librarian never gets that quiet window, the books just pile up on the front desk and information starts to go missing. Here's the problem. After 60, and especially after 70, your slow wave sleep doesn't just decline. Some research suggests it can drop by well over half compared to your younger years, even when your total hours in bed stay the same. You're technically asleep, but you're spending far less time in the deep stage that actually does the repair work. This is not a personal failure. It's a documented, well-studied part of aging physiology tied to changes in brain structures that regulate deep sleep. But, and this is the part they don't spend enough time on, what you eat in the hours before bed can directly influence how much slow wave sleep you get and how well your brain uses that time. That's the whole premise of this video. 5 foods ranked from good to extraordinary. That research links to better sleep architecture, stronger overnight memory consolidation, and in some cases, measurable improvements in recall and cognitive scores in adults over 60. Let's start the countdown. Number 5, walnuts. Now, I know walnuts show up on every brain food list ever made, and I understand if you're rolling your eyes, but stay with me because the research here is more specific than most people realize, and the timing matters more than the food itself. A large observational analysis using US National Health Survey data covering more than 10,000 adults found that people who ate walnuts scored measurably better on tests of memory, concentration, and information processing speed, and this pattern held even after adjusting for age, education, smoking, and physical activities. Separately, a study following adults over 50 found that those eating at least 1 serving of walnuts per week had meaningfully higher baseline scores on a standard cognitive status test compared to non-eaters. And in the Walnuts and Healthy Aging study, a 2-year trial following nearly 640 older adults across California and Spain, daily walnut consumption appeared to help slow cognitive decline, particularly in people who already had risk factors like smoking history or lower starting scores. Why does this matter specifically for an aging brain? 2 words, mitochondria and inflammation. Your mitochondria are the power plants inside every one of your brain cells, and after 60, those power plants become less efficient, producing more oxidative exhaust and less usable energy. Walnuts are unusually rich in a plant based omega 3 called ALA, along with polyphenols that appear to reduce that oxidative load and calm chronic low grade brain inflammation, the kind that's been linked to accelerated memory decline. Think of your neurons like an old delivery truck fleet. Inflammation is like rust building up on the engine. It doesn't stop the truck immediately, but it slows every delivery down. Walnuts appear to act like a rust inhibitor, protecting the parts that keep the whole system running smoothly. For timing, you don't need a mountain of them. Around one small handful, roughly an ounce, taken in the early evening, 3 to 4 hours before bed rather than right before you lie down, gives your digestion time to settle so the fats and fiber don't interfere with falling asleep while still delivering their nutrients into your system overnight. For a synergy tip, pair your walnuts with something containing vitamin C, like a few berries or a small orange. Vitamin C is a cofactor your body uses in processing some of these fats and antioxidant compounds. So, a small piece of citrus alongside your walnuts may help your body use them more effectively. I want to tell you about a man named Robert, 68, from a small town outside Columbus, Ohio. Robert used to joke that he'd walk into his garage and forget what he came in for at least 4 times a day. His wife started leaving sticky notes on the fridge just so he'd remember to take his evening medication. After he started adding a small handful of walnuts to his evening routine, paired with a bit of fruit 3 or 4 hours before bed, he told me, and I remember this because it stuck with me, that within a few weeks, he stopped needing the sticky notes as often. Now, I want to be honest with you. Walnuts alone didn't transform Robert's life, but it was the first domino. It was the thing that got him paying attention to what he ate before sleep, which led him to everything else on this list. Yeah, or number four, fatty fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel, the kinds of fish loaded with long chain omega 3s called EPA and DHA. This is where the science gets genuinely exciting and also a little more nuanced than the supplement industry wants you to believe. A large study out of the University of Texas Health San Antonio, following more than 2,000 adults, found that people with higher omega 3 levels in their blood had larger hippocampal volume, the hippocampus being the specific brain structure responsible for forming new memories, and also perform better on tests of abstract reasoning. Another controlled study in healthy older adults, ages 50 to 75, found that after 26 weeks of omega 3 supplementation, participants showed significantly better performance on a specific memory test involving remembering object locations compared to a placebo group. Now, here's the nuance because I promised you I wouldn't feed you exaggerated claims. Not every study agrees. Some recent research on fish oil pills alone, isolated from food, found they didn't slow shrinkage of the hippocampus in people already at elevated risk for Alzheimer's. The researchers behind that study now believe omega 3s may work best not as an isolated pill, but as part of an overall diet pattern rich in these fats from real food, which is exactly why this food, not a supplement, is on today's list. Here's why this matters for an aging body specifically. As you get older, your body develops something researchers call anabolic resistance, a fancy way of saying your cells become less efficient at absorbing and using the nutrients you give them, even when you eat the exact same diet you always have. It's like a delivery truck that used to unload a package in 5 minutes, now taking 20, because the loading dock itself has slowed down. Omega 3s from fatty fish appear to help keep the loading docks, the membranes surrounding your brain cells, more flexible and receptive, which may help your neurons continue communicating efficiently even as other systems slow down. For timing, a modest portion, about the size of your palm, 3 to 4 times a week, works better than an occasional massive serving. If dinner is your main meal, having fish earlier in the evening rather than late at night gives your body time to digest before sleep, which matters because a heavy, hard to digest meal too close to bedtime can actually fragment your sleep and reduce the very deep sleep stages we're trying to protect. As a synergy tip, pair your fatty fish with leafy greens or a source of vitamin E, like a small handful of sunflower seeds. Some research suggests vitamin E may help protect these delicate fats from oxidizing before your body gets the chance to use them. Now, we're at the halfway point, and before we get into the top three, the ones I consider genuinely powerful, I need to ask you for something. If this video is giving you even one thing you didn't know 5 minutes ago, hit that like button right now because it tells this platform to put this information in front of more people just like you, people who are trying to protect their independence and their memory the same way you are. And if you haven't already, subscribe because I put out videos like this regularly and I don't want you to miss the next one. Okay, let's get into the top three because this is where things get serious. Number three, magnesium rich foods. Think pumpkin seeds, almonds, spinach, and dark chocolate in moderation. Magnesium doesn't get nearly the attention it deserves, and that might be the biggest oversight in mainstream sleep advice. Research on older adults with sleep difficulties has shown that magnesium supplementation is associated with increased quiet sleep, reduced restless or fragmented sleep, and measurable improvement in insomnia severity scores. Deeper science on the mechanism shows magnesium acts as a natural regulator on a receptor system in your brain called NMDA, essentially acting like a dimmer switch that calms overactive nerve signaling at night while also supporting the GABA system, your brain's primary off switch for daytime stress chemicals. And here's the piece that connects it directly to memory. Slow wave sleep, that deep repair stage we talked about earlier, is closely tied to something called sleep spindle activity, brief bursts of brain electrical activity that researchers believe are directly involved in transferring the day's experiences from short term into long term memory. Some research indicates magnesium may increase the density of these sleep spindles and boost slow wave activity substantially, with some studies showing increases in deep sleep duration of well over 50% under supplementation compared to baseline. Think of sleep spindles like tiny couriers running back and forth all night, carrying boxes of information from your short term inbox to your long term filing cabinet. If those couriers slow down or go on strike, boxes just sit there unfiled, and by morning, some of that information may be lost for good. Magnesium appears to help keep those couriers running on schedule. Why does this hit older adults harder? After 60, your body's ability to absorb magnesium from food declines. Certain medications commonly prescribed for blood pressure or acid reflux can further deplete your levels and the years compound, meaning most adults over 60 are walking around with lower magnesium reserves than they realize without a single obvious symptom pointing to it. For practical use, a small handful of pumpkin seeds or almonds or a cup of cooked spinach in the early evening, roughly 2 to 3 hours before bed, gives your body time to begin absorbing it before your natural sleep window opens. As a synergy tip, pair magnesium rich foods with something containing vitamin B6, like a banana. B6 appears to help your body transport magnesium into your cells more efficiently, so the two together may do more than either one alone. I want to tell you about Dorothy, 74, from a quiet neighborhood outside Sacramento. Dorothy had started avoiding phone calls with her grandchildren because she was embarrassed. She'd ask the same question twice in one conversation and feel her face go hot with frustration. Her doctor had run blood work and everything came back normal, which left her feeling like the problem was just her, just aging, just something she had to accept. When she started incorporating a small evening snack of pumpkin seeds with a banana a few hours before bed, she told me that within about a month, she noticed she was sleeping more soundly, waking up less at 2 and 3 in the morning, and she felt sharper on those weekly calls. She specifically remembered being able to recall her granddaughter's exam schedule without having to check her notepad first. Small thing, but to her, it felt like getting a piece of herself back. Number two, kiwi fruit. And yes, this is the fruit I teased at the very beginning. This one surprises almost everyone because it doesn't have the superfood reputation that blueberries or salmon carry, but the sleep research on kiwi is some of the most consistent in this entire space. That Taipei Medical University study I mentioned at the start had adults with self-reported sleep disturbances eat 2 kiwi fruits 1 hour before bed every night for 4 weeks. The results: sleep onset latency, how long it takes to actually fall asleep, dropped by 35.4%. Time spent awake after initially falling asleep sleep dropped by 28.9%. Total sleep time increased by over 13%, and sleep efficiency improved by more than 5%. A separate randomized trial comparing kiwi fruit to pears in adults with diagnosed insomnia found kiwi produced significantly better subjective sleep quality and daytime alertness scores. Here's why kiwi seems to punch above its weight. It's one of the few fruits naturally rich in serotonin, the neurotransmitter your body converts into melatonin as darkness falls. And it's also loaded with antioxidants and vitamin C, which research suggests may help lower oxidative stress markers linked to poor sleep quality. Remember that rusty delivery truck analogy? If inflammation is the rust, antioxidants are the degreaser, and kiwi appears to bring a concentrated dose of it right when your body needs it most, in the window before deep sleep begins. For an aging body, this matters because oxidative stress compounds year over year, and your body's own natural antioxidant defenses become less robust over time, meaning outside sources like kiwi may carry more weight in your 60s and 70s than they did in your 30s. For timing, follow the research directly. 2 kiwi fruits with the skin removed about 1 hour before bed. That 1 hour window appears to matter. It lines up with how quickly your body seems to process the serotonin and antioxidant compounds into usable form before your natural sleep window opens. As a synergy tip, a small handful of walnuts alongside your kiwi at that same 1 hour mark may combine the serotonin supporting effects of the fruit with the healthy fats and plant-based omega-3s from the nuts, creating a more complete pre-sleep nutrient profile than either food alone need feed. And now, number one, the most powerful item on this entire list, and the one I genuinely believe deserves far more attention than it gets: tart cherries, specifically tart Montmorency cherry juice. Here's why this tops the list above everything else we've discussed. Tart cherries are one of the only food sources on Earth that contain meaningfully measurable amounts of actual melatonin, not just melatonin precursors, but the hormone itself, ready to use. A controlled study out of Louisiana State University had adults drink about 1 ounce of tart cherry juice concentrate 30 minutes before their evening meal for 7 days and found significantly elevated melatonin levels compared to both their own baseline and a placebo group, alongside increased total sleep time and sleep efficiency. A separate randomized placebo controlled trial in adults 50 and older with chronic insomnia found that drinking tart cherry juice before bed for 2 weeks increased total sleep time by an average of 84 minutes compared to placebo. All right, that's well over an hour of additional sleep from a food, not a medication. But here's the finding that made me put this at number one above even the sleep benefits. One study looking specifically at older adults with existing memory concerns found that after drinking roughly 6 ounces of tart cherry juice daily for 12 weeks, participants showed improvement in both short-term and long-term memory measures. Let that sink in. Not just better sleep, measurable memory improvement in a population already experiencing decline. So here's the mechanism, explained simply. Melatonin doesn't just make you drowsy, it's a powerful antioxidant in its own right. And research suggests it may help protect brain cells from the oxidative damage that accumulates with age, while also helping regulate the timing of your slow wave sleep, that deep repair window we've been talking about this entire video. On top of the melatonin, tart cherries are rich in anthocyanins, plant compounds that appear to calm inflammatory pathways in the body. Some research points specifically to their ability to inhibit an inflammatory enzyme linked to chronic low-grade inflammation, the same kind of inflammation tied to accelerated cognitive aging. Picture your brain's nightly repair crew arriving for their shift. Melatonin from tart cherries doesn't just tell them the shift is starting, it also hands them better tools to work with, tools that clean up damage more efficiently than they otherwise could. Why is this the single most impactful item for someone over 60 specifically? Because your body's own natural melatonin production declines substantially with age, Some research suggests older adults may produce only a fraction of the melatonin they did in their 30s and 40s, which is a major underappreciated reason why sleep quality and depth erode as we age. Tart cherries directly address that specific measurable deficit rather than working around it. For timing and dosage, following the research directly, roughly 1 to 2 ounces of tart cherry juice concentrate, or about 6 to 8 ounces of the diluted juice taken 30 minutes to 1 hour before bed. If you're managing blood sugar, look for unsweetened concentrate and be mindful of portion, since cherries do carry natural sugars. As a synergy tip, pair your tart cherry juice with a small source of magnesium, like a few almonds, since magnesium appears to support the same deep sleep architecture that melatonin initiates. The two together may work on complementary parts of the same overnight repair process from a I want to tell you about Margaret, 71, from a small farming community in western Nebraska. Margaret had genuinely started to fear she was developing something serious. She'd get partway through telling a story at family dinner and simply lose the thread entirely, sitting there while her grown children waited. And she described the feeling to me as like standing in a room and the lights just went out. She started drinking a small glass of tart cherry juice about an hour before bed, alongside a handful of almonds, mostly because she was desperate to try anything. She told me that the first change she noticed wasn't her memory at all. It was that she stopped waking up at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling. That came first. The memory improvements, she said, came more gradually over roughly 2 months, but she specifically remembered the moment she realized she'd told an entire story at Sunday dinner, start to finish, without losing her place. And she said her daughter looked at her and said, "Mom, you sound like yourself again." And that phrase, "you sound like yourself again," is really what this entire video has been about. Because memory isn't just about remembering trivia or where you left your keys. It's about independence. It's about being able to live in your own home without someone else managing your calendar for you. It's about telling your grandchildren a story and finishing it. It's about walking into a doctor's office and trusting your own recollection of your symptoms and your history. Every single person watching this video right now still has time to protect that. It doesn't matter if you're 61 or 89. Your brain is not a fixed, unchangeable thing. It responds every single night to what you give it before that window of deep repair opens. And the beautiful, almost defiant truth in all of this is that it is never too late to start giving it what it needs. All of the studies and research I referenced today are linked in the description below, so you can look into them yourself, share them with your doctor, and make informed decisions about what's right for your own body. If this video meant something to you, subscribe, because there's more where this came from, and I don't want you to miss it. And before you go, I want to know, of these five, which one are you going to try tonight? Tell me in the comments. I'll be there reading every single one.